Welcome to Warp Core Breach, episode 58, Yesterday's Enterprise. Your fleet has encountered a damaged ship from the past that has emerged from a strange temporal rift. No, it's not the Enterprise, sadly. While repairing it, you realize that this ship has caused your timeline to be altered and have determined that it must be returned through the rift to its own time to set things right. As your fleet escorts the damaged ship back to the rift, you are set upon by an enemy fleet. Really? Set upon?
We're shocked, I know.
Will you successfully return the damaged ship to its own time? Or will the ship be destroyed en route to the rift, leaving you stuck in this alternate timeline? These are good questions.
The answers are yours and yours alone. That is to say, you're going to have to figure that out on the table at your store for the event, because that's your OP coming up.
Yes. We get different deployment starting areas, and I really like this.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the Battle of Mempa, the way that played out, so I'm hoping that this can also be something new, and I'm also very shocked by the idea of us having an actual larger jump forward to actually clash on the board.
Yes. You have a damaged ship, as the intro suggests. That has to set up in a range 1 by range 1 corner.
It's like a genie. Fantastic cosmic power, itty-bitty living space.
Something like that. Or it's just, it's baby. We put baby in the corner.
That too. Except nobody puts baby in the corner, so not at all.
Okay, fine. Then the rest of your fleet gets to set up in essentially range 2 by range 3, but not quite range 3.
Numbers are a little bit off there.
It's 8 inch by 15 inch, and I look at that and I go, WizKids, really?
They're here to cause problems, I guess, but, you know, it's still a pretty hefty section of the board.
It is. And then in the complete opposite side and centered, there's an objective token that represents the temporal rift. I'm fine with that. That's the ideal placement for it. So the damaged ship has to go a fair bit to get to the rift.
It is a damaged ship. It's starting at the very farthest corner, and it's trying to race to that common middle ground somewhere around the center of the board.
Yeah, so some interesting things about the damaged ship. It can only have a hull value of 4 or less. Okay.
Not a particularly big deal. The gimmicks that I've got in mind for this generally aren't affected by that.
No, I'm thinking 3 or less and go with improved deflector screens.
There's some things I want to bring up. I think there's another idea that could work out really nicely.
We'll get there.
Yes.
It may not execute a maneuver with a speed greater than 3. Okay. That rules out some like Voyager going 6 straight and just kind of cheesing the whole thing. I'm fine with that.
Anything that's got like a 4 come about is a pretty poor choice.
Yeah.
Because you lose out on that really crucial maneuver.
Yes. Scimitar, but that would break the hull.
Oh, I think Breen have a 4 straight. I mean, a 4 come about.
Oh.
I could be wrong there, but I think there's something out there.
The Soong might?
Oh, yeah, but that breaks the hull value. It wouldn't be a valid option in the first place. No, not Breen. Maybe that's not actually a restriction based upon just the fact that it's limited to hull 4 higher or lower ships.
I know something else has a 4 come about besides Scimitar, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, the Soong does. I just don't think it's also not a valid choice the same way the Scimitar's not.
Okay. You have to put a captain on this. Now, that can be a generic skill 1 captain. And it may only be equipped with 1 upgrade card with a printed cost of 5 SP or less. Okay.
That's not too restricting, considering you still can pay however much you want for the captain.
Yeah.
That's not a huge cut. It's just telling you can't stack this thing, because the damaged ship is going to be the only ship in your arsenal that's avoids a certain penalty rule coming up later.
Yes. Now, it is important to note, the upgrade's ability cannot allow the damaged ship to be removed from the play area or execute an additional maneuver. So, no warp jump, no engage. Again, we're not cheesing the scenario here.
I don't know about that. I'm hearing upgrades can't. I'm not hearing anything about admirals. I'm not hearing anything about using other other of your ship's talents, like through Bitor.
Yeah, I know.
There's plenty of cheese potential here. Don't get me wrong.
I would say that the rules here do indicate that the admiral cannot be assigned to the damaged ship.
I would agree. I think that it says specifically you get one upgrade, and a max one upgrade, and one captain.
Yes. So, I'm sure some English lawyer could finagle their way to say, well, it doesn't say you can't put an admiral on there, but I'm going to say that you can't put an admiral on there.
I'd be willing to agree to that.
Probably more thematic that way anyways. But
almost definitely.
Yes, you could put Admiral Forrest on another ship in your fleet and then use the fleet action on the damaged ship to Forrest every
Precisely
turn.
My point.
Yeah. Which, I think that they should have made a rule that it can't benefit from extra maneuvers.
I was gonna bring that up because one of the really nice choices for a damaged ship here might just be the Scout 608 with its ability to ditch whatever its upgrade is in order to get an extra boost, so to speak.
Yeah, that's an extra.
If you've got something like Captain Weiyun, you can stop that crewman from being discarded in the first place and use it again at the very start of the next turn.
Okay, so you do that. We're fine there. I'll let you do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I bring up point 4. It begins the game with 1 damage to its hull.
Which is the part that makes it a real risk to bring your Scout 608, just in case there's any Deckers or missile launchers. Or
I'm going to bring Decker, and I'm going to get just close to your Scout Cube and Decker and blow it up.
Hi. Bye.
So
fun knowing you.
So you can pull your 608 shenanigan. That's fine by me. I'll one-shot it.
Oh, trust me, there's other shenanigans afoot.
Oh,
608 is not the end-all be-all. It's just one of the myriad options.
Yes. Now, here's the fun one. The damaged ship may transfer a number of damage that it receives from an attack to a friendly ship that is within range 1 of the damaged ship, equal to the friendly ship's remaining shields. Any excess damage hits the damaged ship as normal.
Basically, every ship within range is the Trager, for the moment.
Yes, but here's the difference. This is a May, so it's a once per round.
Correct. You only get that once per every now and again. And I said Trager, and what I obviously meant was not at all the Trager, but instead the Kraxen, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, no, the Traeger doesn't sound right. That's got to be the Kraxen. I was thinking
of the Trager for a completely different reason.
Yeah, you were in the right faction, even the right sub-faction.
I got the proper class. I was just thinking of the Trager because I'd like to bring up the assimilated vessel for the Dominion a little bit later.
Okay. This isn't super restrictive. Yes,
not at all.
It confines movement, it confines all these things.
I think the whole is the most restrictive part of it.
Yeah, but
even within that, there's a plethora of ships, and especially small ships don't necessarily take big leaping strides, so the movement restrictions aren't that big of an issue.
I'm thinking at worst, ISS Defiant?
Yeah, I'm sure you can find something to just 3-bank wiggle it over to the objective.
Right. And more so the Defiant because it can soak damage.
Mm-hmm.
Or, something even like an NX that can use enhanced hull plating.
One of my tricky ideas was to use the Prototype 01.
Oh, that's a good one.
not only does that heal your initial starting damage, but it also fits that defensive idea for your damaged ship, as well as has essentially free durability from its repairs.
Nice.
Being able to throw damage onto your allied ships is also a really neat way to keep it alive through near misses.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
it's
cute
got
idea.
Room for one upgrade, whether you want to cloak mines or maybe throw a Type 8 phaser array on there. You can get some good work out of it.
Sure.
It doesn't need a lot.
No. Yeah, the drone's solid just as is, so...
Exactly. Most fleets are not unhappy to bring the prototype along, and it really suits the gimmick for this scenario just because it solves all those problems. It has no maneuvers bigger than 3, so no restriction there. It takes a hit at the start of the game and immediately repairs it before anyone starts fighting, and it doesn't need many upgrades. It just slaps on a Type 8 or Cloaked Mines, and you're ready to set it loose.
Well, I'm good. I'm sold. Ready to go. Call that a day. For the rest of your fleet, there's a temporal displacement. So at the start of the game, during the Gather Forces step, each player must flip half of the upgrades assigned to each of their ships face down, rounded up. So if you have 3 upgrades, you're flipping 2 face down. These upgrades cannot be used until that player's damaged ship enters the temporal rift. This does not apply to an upgrade assigned to the player's damaged ship. Once a player's damaged ship enters the rift, immediately flip all of that player's face down cards face up. Those cards are usable immediately. And in addition, when a player's damaged ship enters the rift, remove all disabled upgrade tokens from on top of all of that player's upgrade cards.
So as soon as you get your damaged ship out the door, the rest of your fleet is suddenly fighting capable and really ready to lay the hurt on your opponent, giving you a strong incentive to pick something that can quickly rush its way on across the board and exit without too much of a fuss.
I think that they missed one aspect. They missed time tokens.
Right. Yeah, I see that. You're right. They didn't include the removal of time tokens, so that it's not quite a full wipe. If you're building a certain way, you do have to pay that penalty.
TOs, if you're looking for a little house rule to make this totally thematic, pull time tokens off too.
Yeah, I think that would be very, very reasonable. Time tokens are just an alternative to disable tokens in order, at least on most cards. For some, they're like a special mechanic like Temporal Observatory, but it works nicely to just say everything gets refreshed and everyone's ready to get back into it.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine justifying getting rid of a bunch of disables as being equivalent to getting rid of a bunch of time tokens.
Mm-hmm. Just clear everything off, get it ready to be used again, give the player a boost for sending one of their ships off the board.
Right.
That still points you're handing your opponent.
And they do offer the note that an upgrade card that is flipped face up cannot add upgrade slots to its ship. And that's a reminder that cards don't add slots later on in the game.
Correct. All the slots you see that get added by card effects and abilities are strictly for the building phase and don't actually exist outside of the ship slots for regular game purposes.
Right. So this brings in an interesting point about Sakona. Mainly, I'm pretty sure she doesn't work.
How do you figure?
Because she would have had to have added her weapon slot at some point.
Mm-hmm. And so because she's face down, she loses that?
But slots aren't ever lost.
Right.
And so by them saying that once they're flipped up, they're not added, they're contradicting something.
I think what they're saying is that you can't fill those new slots that it would have, because you could have something like shuttles and whatnot that could slide upgrades around. So it's just reminding you of the natural rules, that upgrades don't give you slots beyond what's on your bar after the planning state phase.
I understand that, but gather forces
Mm-hmm.
is part of squad building.
Okay, so you think that because she would be face down, she wouldn't actually give you the slot in the first place? And the discount in the first place?
I'm saying if you choose to take Sakona and put her face down, that you're choosing to put a face down Sakona on your fleet, not a face up Sakona. So she never gives you the slot, she never gives you the weapon discounts.
Okay. That's an interesting perspective. I wouldn't have considered that, and that does influence how I was going to build for this.
What I'm getting at is, on your build sheet, you have to indicate every card that is going to be face down.
And those cards don't give you a bonus at the beginning of the game.
Right, they don't do anything for you at the start of the game. They don't factor into discounts. They don't help you in any way.
Basically, they're not deployed to your ship.
Yes.
And that's how Dave's saying it works.
They're there, but they're off duty.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're offline, or whatever it
they're
is.
They're separate.
They're detrimental.
Mooches. All they are costs. They don't provide any of their benefits until they flip face up.
I just wish their example would have been better, because they picked two of the worst possible upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Jedzia, Dax, and a photon torpedo. It's like, really? I mean, that's probably the harshest interpretation of it.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten that just by reading it, but I can definitely see how it's arguably justifiable.
So that's definitely a check with your TO, but I think it's a valid interpretation.
I think most things should be a check with your TO. No matter what we say on here, it's always going to be up to them how it's played at your store. So always make sure you're clear on the rules where you're playing.
Right. I'm not pulling this out of thin air. I'm not making this up.
I'm not saying you are. I just don't know. And WizKids is not exactly predictable.
This is a way that it could be legally played. And
I buy that.
I want people to be aware of that before they go, wait, what?
Definitely for the best.
So, all of that being said, your objective is to destroy all of your opponent's ships, just like normal. At the end of the game, you get 10 bonus points if your ship gets to the temporal rift. You also get 10 bonus points if you destroy your opponent's damaged ship. How do you get to the temporal rift? Well, you either have your ship overlap the objective token, the maneuver template overlap the objective token, or you exit the board within range 1 of the objective token.
All of which remove your ship from the board and give those points to your opponent. Uh-huh. Now you see WizKids dropping the ball. This is the turn, Dave. This is where it starts.
Removed from the play area. Yeah.
Yeah. Ships that are removed from the play area don't exist and
they're not,
are not
part
counted
of the surviving fleet.
A part of your squadron points at the end of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not part of the surviving fleet.
So want to play the objective right and send your ship off the board? Get that big fresh for the fight boost? Well, you just killed your own ship.
Nope.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Okay. I know where you're going with this. So here's... I'm going to steal your thunder. So here's what you do. You take your damaged ship. You put one upgrade on it. And then you run a swarm build, or you run as many powerful ships as you can get with no upgrades.
It gets better than that, Dave. It gets better. You know what you do? You run the Sakharov. You get a little shuttle delivery system. You get to keep your damaged ship safe. You get to stick it away in someone's hull. You get to bring a free discounted upgrade along for whichever ship you're deploying it to that isn't actually part of the flip face down nonsense. You can carry a super high skill captain because you're not putting many points on there. And if you can get the Sakharov off the board without... and then kill your opponent's damaged ship, that's still a 20-point differential from your plus 10 and the plus 10 from killing your opponent's ship. So you're probably still coming out ahead in profit there. That's one of the ways you get around it. Shuttles just being able to deliver from point A to point B, that could be pretty snazzy.
It could.
Use a low-skill captain so you can move it first, then the ship you dock onto gets a chance to move. And it's not restricted to 3 or less, so you can actually just have this big ball carrier basically take a green maneuver, some green 3 straight, I know they exist, then use the Picard maneuver. Now you've gone all that way. Drop off the shuttle and let it go. Happy fun times abound. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying that's one of the more successful ways you could try and get your damaged ship off the board, as well as keep the advantage in points, because that 20-point differential is pretty big.
Assuming you can kill your opponent's ship.
Yes, that does require your ship to actually your fleet to actually be competent behind that. But if you can manage that with this Sakharov, I think you could at least make a go of it. You can make it worthwhile to actually play to the objective.
Okay, so there's a slow clap in there somewhere, because
basically this objective, for my money at least, gives you an incentive to do one of two things. Put a very small investment on a ship that you're going to send off the board, or put a normal sort of investment on a ship that you're going to keep on the board and heal up, or keep on the board and use as a sort of throwaway. I'd considered the idea of taking a Romulan science vessel and throwing on diplomacy. There's no way they're killing that without the ability to attack it, at least on the first turn of combat, and diplomacy can stop one of their ships from attacking, sort of as a mini, projected stasis field, and that it will actually cut off the attack of whatever that ship that is, and you're not losing a ton of offense by not letting your Romulan science vessel fire.
Oh, yeah.
I think that you're limited to 5 points or less for upgrades on the damage vessel, which just means that you take Gen Con as the captain to remove the penalty for diplomacy, and that works out nicely.
Yes. Take Gen Con, make printed cost 5. It's safer that way. I think printed cost ultimately ends up being what you write on your fleet sheet, which is just the safest thing to do. That's why Temporal Conduit works with the discounted talents.
Because you're actually changing what the, quote, printed value is on that.
Yes.
And my other thing is that you can either try and deliver a small, low-investment ship to the objective and actually send that off, or my other idea is that you can take a ship that has a way to repair itself, such as the prototype like we discussed earlier, or, trickily enough, the Borg Dominion assimilated vessel. It's 4 hull, and it actually has the regenerate action on its bar.
Yeah.
The fact that it's limited to 3 or less maneuvers isn't so damaging, since that keeps all of its banks and turns intact and only cuts off 2 of its straight maneuvers. And 9 points of durability is pretty difficult for them to cut through if they are going to try and focus down your damage ship for the big bonus.
Not by that.
So the general idea should be to find some way to keep your damage ship on board effectively, or to find a way to invest very lightly on it and just shuffle it off the mortal coil in order to get the rest of your fleet in fighting order.
Right. If you're looking to keep it on board, think Voyager.
Keeping it on board also, though, does bring the penalty of half of your upgrades are going to be flipped down the entire game, so you'll need to plan with that by either incorporating some cheap or free upgrades somewhere where you can fit them, or by bringing along no upgrades, just a strong captain and admiral and good named abilities on your ships.
So, Klingons.
Definitely an option. Martok, Kor, Gowron, Worf, all fantastic players. Can't knock any of them.
So we're back to the Klingon Civil War. I like it.
Personally, I think that factions with access to 1-point upgrades, like the weapons of the Mirror Universe, as well as Vulcans, some of the Dominion ships can use Shroud. I know that Federation has like teleporter upgrades, transporter upgrades, but anything that can take that sort of 1-point talent, you can take those cheap upgrades to give your ships access to more expensive upgrades and just eat the cost as essentially 1 extra point or a faction penalty on top of what you're already paying. Or you can just build without upgrades and use your really decent captains and basically play around the penalties of the scenario.
Yeah, I think this is one where ship abilities are going to play a bigger part than normal.
Definitely. Just for the fact of them being impossible to strip away.
Right, as well as captain abilities.
Yeah, being able to build with cheap and effective captains is going to be big in this scenario.
Although that plays more into Gul Madred.
Gul Madred, Gul Dukat, plenty of the just value captains. Try and keep everybody skill 7 or above just to give Gul Madred some wiggle room, but even then it's a greater than 50% chance, so don't get your hopes up.
Well, and it's Gul Madred, and then figure out just a way to boost them a little bit. If you're going to invest some points in upgrades, go for that.
I was thinking
route.
Admiral Madred, but if you're going full-on Assassin Madred, good luck. That could work.
Assassin Madred. I'm not advocating the full, like, Leonalis, Goval, etc., etc.
You could run it.
You could, but you're going to be paying a lot of points to do it.
As long as you include some way to send your damaged ship off, then that could be part of your strategy.
It could. I think that's the only way you're going to make that build work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking if you run a stay on the board fleet, you could get Madred, put Madred on a mirror ship, run Garrick, and then just toss like an aft weapons for 1 point.
I see that, but at the same time, that cuts off your own captain. You do get the boost to keep you above skill 0, but you're still shooting behind every other of their ships.
It will help you because you are killing one of their best captains in doing it.
Assuming one of their best captains is below 9. Picard, Martok, Carr even can sometimes get up there if you put him with skill boosts. There's plenty of captains that get boosted beyond 8. So,
but you're assuming that people are going to invest the points in skill boosting in this scenario.
That's true. I hadn't considered that everyone's got to pay a bit of extra premium on that.
Yeah, I think that skill boosting is one of the things that's going to go out the window a little bit.
Fingers crossed.
at least as a primary idea.
As the focus.
I think it's definitely in the back of your mind. It's always something you're looking at.
Something that I think really needs to be hashed out between the players and the TO for whatever venue you're playing at is, are the face down cards assigned to your ship for the purpose of disabling your own upgrades, for discarding them, for being able to be ganked by your opponent's ships? Where do they stand in that respect?
Well, opponents can never target face down cards.
Okay.
I know that much.
That's useful.
But the question becomes, can you?
Yes, can you discard it for Duras? Can you disable it for the Valjean? What can I do with this?
See, I don't think so. The line specifically says these upgrades cannot be used until the player's damaged ship enters the temporal rift.
I'm fine with that ruling. I just think that needs to be said, because conditional surrender could either be really good or really bad in this scenario, and that very much hinges upon your answer there.
That actually makes conditional surrender very intriguing, because if you run 4 upgrades and conditional surrender is up with a crew, and then you hide 2 other crew face down, conditional surrender only discards 1 crew. And then if you get your ship out, you have 2 crew left.
That's not something I would have considered. You can actually save your crew from yourself if you are building to ditch your ship. And that actually works really nicely on a ship that will be ferrying your shuttle.
Yeah.
Being able to cancel incoming attacks. Something to consider.
Yeah? Okay.
The lines. You can see the lines, Dave.
We're hashing this out. I like it.
It works. There's a lot of things you can do here. I think this is actually a really impressive scenario, and I'm looking forward to seeing the ideas other people bring to the table.
I like it. I have problems with the ship that goes through the temporal rift counting as points for your opponent.
Oh yeah, they should have either made it plus 20 points for sending your ship off.
Or 30.
I don't think 30. I think that 20, especially when you count the fact that you get a bonus if you kill your opponents, i.e. risk for leaving it on board, makes it more reasonable. But at plus 10 for losing your entire ship worth of points, I don't think that's quite right.
Or I think they should have just said that the ship counts as part of your surviving fleet. I think that would have been a perfectly fine rule.
I don't know. It feels weird to just say, hey, you can hold this card in stasis, even though they do limit its points. I can see the perspective there. I just find that a bit unsettling.
It's still something you have to specifically navigate to a direct point that your opponent knows you're getting to.
Yeah, but
they are trying to kill it and get bonus points for doing so. So there's a lot of risk there.
Yeah, I see you.
Your reward's minimal. Plus, you're losing a ship. See, that's the other thing. By getting your ship off the board, not only are you handing points to your opponent, you're also reducing your fighting force.
Yeah, which is why I think that it would be nice to get a good boost of points. But again, the idea of just holding a ship in reserve, especially if it's been super damaged and you're just using this as an out to combat, that feels wrong to me. If I can't kill it, you shouldn't be able to get points from it, is my perspective. Because there's nothing else like that in the game. If you've got a ship on board, unless they've got some upgrades that are specifically canceling attacks, if you're getting points from it, I'm able to stop you, and that's the sort of interplay. That's why attack wing works. Everything you have got can be taken away if your opponent plays properly. And if you take that away, you're changing some of the fundamental assumptions of the game, and that gets into weird territory where I don't really like where the game's going. That could just be me, but that's the way I'm looking at it.
And we're taking away one specific ship in one mission. And then we'd say if any other ship goes through the temporal rift, then you've lost those points.
Yeah, it's just the damaged ship that can get through the temporal rift.
I don't think that would utterly break the scenario. I don't think it would
utterly break it. I just don't think it would be a good change. I think it would be unhealthy for the game.
Well, but here's the thing. You still have plenty of opportunity to take it out. You have the time that it's on the board. You have time to gank the upgrade, to kill the captain, to do a bunch of other things.
Believe me, I'm not arguing to the contrary.
The points. So there's ways to mess with it. Plus, you know exactly where it has to end up. And if you want, warp jump on turn 1, and with any ship other than your damaged ship, and you can guard the exit.
I agree. There's totally ways you can finagle it to make it an assassin build and just make sure you take down your opponent's damaged ship. But I don't think that being able to just set a ship aside safe and off the board is something I want to play. That's not an engaging mechanic. It doesn't drive the players into conflict. It specifically says you can't have a fight over this resource anymore. They've just done it right, and nothing from this point forward, even though the game is still going on, nothing from this point forward will affect that. Even cloaked mines can be taken off the board. There's very few things that your opponent... Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that there's very few things your opponent's doing or trying to do that can't be undone.
And it can only be taken off the board if you bring that one card. If that's true. One specific card isn't brought, then those mines are on the board forever and ever.
I agree. I'm just saying that they're are answers to everything else, and there's no answer to that. There's no way to stop that other than just
get your own
playing
ship
a
off
normal
the board.
flip ship. Well, that doesn't fix it. That just means you're doing the same thing, and even worse, you're bringing down the power level of the whole game by sending 2 ships off the board. You may as well have built with the other 2 ships immediately. That's not fun for anybody. I don't think that's an engaging scenario.
It's
and I
lowering
think the
points, and that makes it a more intriguing game because now instead of 130 on 130,
I've played 160-point games. I guarantee you lower point games are not more intriguing.
They can be.
They can be, sure, but I don't think for the purpose of, for the reason that they were low points, I think for the reason of having more interesting rules and scenarios and just the different ships matching up in that fleet.
So just go with me for a moment here. If the points are that you get your ship off and then it's locked away, how many points do you start dedicating to that? Because, yeah, those points are safe, but then there are also points not being used to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you go big, if you go with something like a Voyager, because you want the durability to make sure that it gets out, well, that's kind of a heavy hitter that's not going to be part of your fleet. You could have used that in combat, but maybe you really wanted to make sure that you got a ship out so that you could flip your upgrades up.
And my point isn't that it wouldn't give you something to build towards and consider when fleet building, but rather that you can use it after not doing any of that planning and preparation and measuring, just to save your wounded and injured damaged ship by flying it off after it's already seen combat and soaked some damage.
You still got to get it really close to the battle.
And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do. I'm just saying that's a bad and unhealthy aspect that you would be introducing to the scenario. You totally can make that house rule. Like, it is a house rule, and you can set it up that way if you think that your players and you would enjoy playing that way. I would recommend against it. I don't think you would enjoy playing with it that way. I think
it would make the scenario so much more dynamic. I think it would change so much about the scenario that would make players make so many more choices, both in fleet building.
I find that funny because I think that would change the scenario, but by making it so that players made less choices. And I think that's the core of our disagreement here, is we have different perspectives on how it would really affect the game.
Okay. I clearly can't convince you, but I can convince our audience that I don't think you'd see any shuttles except something to run off real quick and then have a huge fleet that would be fighting capable.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think you would also see people that wouldn't even try to run stuff off and go fighting capable from the start. And that would be a lot more dynamic than what we're currently seeing.
Well, no, I don't think that. I just think that would also show up in the way the scenario currently works. I definitely think a large portion of players will dedicate to having a full fleet on board and just eat the maneuverability and damage. It'll be up to the players to see how their individual venues take on this OP and what sorts of strategies end up being the dominant metagame. We haven't seen it played yet, as it is in the upcoming OP, so all we can say about how it will play is speculation.
I understand that.
We disagree, Dave. It's okay, you can say it.
We completely disagree, and I think that my interpretation is a lot more thematic to how the episode worked. Go watch yesterday's Enterprise, the Next Generation
I believe
episode.
You fully. I've never touched on thematicism. I don't go there because I don't have the context for that. I'm looking at raw mechanics all the time. That's all I see.
These OP missions should fit the theme, and this one, losing the ship points because you do accomplish the objective, you handing points to your opponent because you accomplish the objective, is not thematic.
I think that's a reason to change the conceit rather than change the rules, but c'est la vie.
Fair enough. All right, so prize pack time.
The new USS Enterprise-D.
Yeah. Sure. We'll go with that. So it's still a Galaxy class. It's still 4154.
Still unique.
It got a tech slot though. That much is cool.
That's handy. It's kind of copying the Venture now.
Yeah. Well, I mean that much is fine. 2 crew, 2 weapon, and a tech. Still that 90 forward, 90 rear. Same action bar.
Still the red 3s that just hurt so badly.
Yeah. But the 1 and 2 reverse, I mean, that much is kind of fun.
It's nice to be able to choose whether you want to go short or maybe jump a ship backwards.
Yeah. But the named ability. During the roll attack dice or roll defense dice step of the combat phase, you may switch an evade, scan, or target lock token that is beside your ship for a battle station token. That's kind of useful.
Yeah, it's weird, I'll grant, but definitely kind of handy. I think that if you build with a low skill captain, you can even use this offensively to turn something into a battle stations after getting a pair of actions. One of the possibilities you could use is Alyssa Ogawa and Lozier to power a secondary weapon setup using the named ability on the Enterprise-D on a low captain skill to transfer the scan or evade action that you got from Alyssa Ogawa into battle stations for some offensive quality.
Yeah.
It certainly enables some tricks. The problem is you actually have to enter the roll attack dice. Oh, is it the roll attack dice step or roll defense dice step?
Yes.
Never mind, it's even better. I was thinking that you had to build low captain skill because it was only roll defense dice step.
But it's only of your ship.
Yes, but you'd never need to change something unless your ship was involved.
Yeah.
My point is that I thought it was only able to be used on defense, which is factually incorrect and makes it a lot better.
Yeah, if it was only on defense, that would be bad. You wouldn't want a battle station token for 1 evade die.
My point exactly.
I mean, maybe you do if you're being attacked later in the round and you have a scan token.
Maybe you've put Hood Riker elsewhere and you've decided to stack a Montagon and Tom Paris on here for wolves, I guess.
Or Sulu.
Yeah, but the thing about Sulu is he gives you a free battle stations conversion, so it's not like you need to actually spend the token. Yeah, but if you're already getting free conversions, then what are you doing spending tokens?
I don't know.
Maybe Captain Carr with some way to... Captain Core with some way to get an action on here, like Martok.
Core 6?
Yes, precisely. In order to taunt things in and actually get some defense dice. Because I'm just trying to figure out ways to get bulk defense dice without actually getting battle stations conversions like from Sulu or Riker.
No, Shelby doesn't work. She gives you slight rerolls.
Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of a weird middle ground if you're trying to use it defensively. Offensively, of course, it just means that captains and crew that would normally give you would normally give you evade or scan results can now give you battle stations instead, which is really handy.
Yeah. I want to like this. I just don't have a place for it right now.
The problem is it's on the Galaxy class ship, because the Galaxy class has that struggle of it's only 4 dice, it's kind of bulky, doesn't have easy turns, it's just an awkward ship, and if any of these things changed, it could maybe be a little bit better, but I just find myself thinking, why am I not building with a Nebula? What am I getting from the Enterprise-D that I wouldn't get from the Sutherland? And I can never come up with a decent response because the lack of white turns just really sinks its maneuverability unless you're taking advantage of that rear arc.
Yeah.
The Venture gets a pass because with the dorsal phaser array, it can do really good work. Just 5 dice, 360 is not bad. Just ask Voyager. But aside from that, the Enterprise-D doesn't speak to me nearly as much as some of the other options for big capital ships like this do.
I wanted to like this. I really did.
It's a good named ability. The problem is the ship it's on lets it down.
That's my problem.
It's kind of like having a really good Excelsior and wishing it was a Constitution.
Eh, I'm still fine with Excelsior class.
The white turns kill me.
Well, the red turns, you mean?
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't have any white turns kills me.
I can understand that, but it's okay.
I agree it's okay, but that's because the Excelsior actually gets a 180, whereas the Enterprise-D is stuck with that forward 90.
Yes, and that's the problem.
I was mentioning in terms of scale.
Yes. Should note that the generic ship goes back to the generic from the starter, 3 crew and a weapon.
It is weird to see that, but, worthwhile to point out.
Yeah. Where's my generic with a tech? Not that I have anything in mind, I just...
I was going to say, you just really need that Galaxy class, Dave?
You don't know me. You don't know my life.
There is the Galaxy Task Force, I think, or Attack Formation.
I think it's Galaxy Attack Wing.
Could be. That strict Galaxy card that's basically worse than Blockade in every way.
Galaxy Wing Squadron. We were completely wrong.
It was something. It was some group.
Well, I had Wing in there.
Yeah, aside from if you're planning on using that, the Galaxy class is just a difficult ship to endorse.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I'm going to steal my favorite card just because
That's fine.
I love it and I think it looks incredible. We're going with Natasha Yar. For once, we're getting a character that lives up to their Mirror Universe version in terms of quality, with the Mirror Universe Tasha being great. For 4 points, you get a unique crew upgrade. Add 2 weapon upgrades to your upgrade bar. Also, when attacking during the Modify Attack Dice step, you may place 2 time tokens on her in order to reroll up to 3 of your attack dice. Well, howdy doody.
I'm good. Sold.
This is like the reroll version of 7 of 9, using 2 time tokens instead of a disable, and giving you free weapon slots that you're invariably going to make great use of with Sakana because you're building a Federation ship and need weapon slots.
Yeah, doesn't this, fix the Enterprise?
Absolutely. One of the Enterprise A's biggest issues is that it struggles to find the room for whatchamacallit?
Weapon slots?
Yeah, additional phaser array.
Yeah, that's the
which
one.
is the perfect weapon upgrade for its named ability, since you're getting the boost to all of your attacks. Throw on something like Spock, and now you've got battle stations on all of your attacks. You can use Natasha Yar to reroll one of your attacks that comes up with too many blanks, and you're throwing 6 attack dice. And that's not even using up all your weapon slots. You've even got some extra for something like rapid reload or something else you can fit on there.
Yeah.
It's all 2 points less with Sakana on board, so she's just a very usable combo piece that finally gives you free quality in addition to utility. And I say free quality, it is every other turn. She does particularly work well with improved phaser array, just because she can fire at the same... Maybe it's just improved phasers, I forget. She can fire at the same tempo as that.
Yeah.
Giving you rerolls whenever you're attacking with improved phasers, but I think she definitely works best with something that can take advantage of her for pretty consistent quality and make use of those weapon slots.
She goes nicely on the pasture.
I was thinking about that, the mirror pasture.
Yeah, not that Sakona doesn't, but Tasha's now enabling the double weapon slot.
I think the real clincher for me is that she's giving you utility beyond the slots. Sakona is difficult to advocate for because, yes, you're getting 2 points off and you're getting the slot, but you're still paying the point just for that conversion. Whereas Natasha Yar, now you're paying 4 points for her ability and you've got slots to spare. I suppose 5 points with faction penalty, but having the ability to bring slots and quality all on the one upgrade is pretty handy.
I've got this nagging feeling going, I wonder if she's just a little too much to be truly a true utility piece.
I definitely think that she's kind of expensive. 4 is not a small upgrade, but if you can use her effectively, like I said, you really do want to be using her with Sakona, because 2 upgrade slots, you're either not taking advantage of those, or you're not necessarily... You're not building focused enough if you're using multiple weapons. But especially on Fed, you can even slot the systems upgrade into one of those weapon slots and use that as a conversion if you've got spares that you're not using for something.
Okay, that's actually a good thought. Because I'm sitting there going, okay, that's 7 points for 3 weapon slots. The utility of Tasha's ability, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, then you're paying for the weapons. Arguably, you can get Type 8 and upgraded for 1 on a Fed ship, which is, again, fantastic. I mean, 8 points for +2 attack dice and 3 rerolls every other turn.
Not to mention the defense boost from systems upgrade, or was that not included?
That's not included because you do have to pay the 2 points for it.
But still, that's not a bad setup. And the fact that you've got the extra room.
Yeah, now you do have to have 2 crew slots to do all of that.
That's true, which is why this might work really, really nicely on something like the regular Enterprise with the 4 crew slots and the weapon slot. Especially because it works off of time tokens, you never have to spend an action enabling them, which the Enterprise can't do while under Aux power.
Yeah, so
that's another great idea.
Okay. I was sold on Tasha for a long time, since I've seen what she does. Mm-hmm. I'm worried that she does a little too much. And
she spreads herself too thin.
That she costs more because of that.
And I agree. I just think that if you take advantage of all of her aspects, then she pays for herself.
Yeah.
A little bit over. I think it's at that weird spot where she would probably be worth about 3 points if she didn't have the slots, and she probably should be around 5 points if she's got all this. So bringing her down to 4 points means that if you're taking advantage of everything, you're getting a little bit of a discount on it, as well as getting some good value for slots in just building your ship. That's 2 upgrades worth of abilities all on 1 card.
Sure. Okay, so our talent is Dispersal Pattern C Era. When attacking with a photon torpedo during the declare target step, you may discard this card to target 2 or 3 different ships in your forward firing arc with the attack. If you target 2 different ships, each attack is at -1 attack die. If you target 3 different ships, each attack is at -2 attack dice. First off, this is not a card meant for the Enterprise-D. This is a card meant for a 180 arc ship.
Because it is strictly forward firing arc. It's not, you can't use this to dispersal pattern Sierra out your rear arc, which is the problem.
Yeah.
It could be a very nice opening, like, spread of damage for a ship like the Enterprise-E.
It could. Yeah. Yeah, the E could make good use of it.
You can use that as an opening alpha strike, especially because it is a discard, and then once you've moved past them, fire backwards out of your rear arc using those same torpedoes.
But here's the problem. The E doesn't want to take photon torpedoes.
What kind of torpedoes does the E want to bring?
Well, chronotons, but...
You're getting really expensive with it.
If the E is going to take torpedoes, it's going to take quantums, but realistically, it's not going to take torpedoes at all because it doesn't roll more dice than it naturally rolls.
Okay, in that case, I still think you could do nicely with the USS Excelsior for the same sort of scenario, and use the free scan token to trigger Dimitri Valtain. And now photon torpedoes with the battle stations conversion and the Dimitri Valtain gives you a nice setup, and you can still fire out your rear.
Later on, yeah, sure. I buy that. I'll give you one other option, the Reliant.
Oh, I don't agree with the reliance strictly because you can't fire photon torpedoes range 1. If you skip out on the Federation photon torpedoes and take the Dominion torpedoes, which can be fired at range 1, you miss out on the battle station conversion, which is important when you're spreading it over multiple attacks. Whereas if you keep the Federation versions, you can't actually fire at range 1 and take advantage of the named ability. Arguably, you could use that with the Venture in order to set that up, but again, you're still running into the issue of it's all got to be forward firing arc, but maybe that's not as much of an issue. You can sort of allow for that on the Venture as opposed to the Enterprise-E.
Yeah, fair enough.
The thing that would make me love this is if, whatchamacallit, we still had high-yield photon torpedoes as a resource. I think that if you're not running that, Dispersal Pattern Sierra is difficult to advocate for, but there are some big Fed ships that definitely can use it. I think it's even worse out of faction, though. Maybe you could use this with the Borg photon torpedo on the Dominion Galler class assimilated vessel. I think that could be really cutesy, actually, now that I think about it, because the Borg photon torpedoes get a bonus attack die when fired from Borg ships, so they're not feeling the loss of damage as much, and they do better damage against shields, which is also super important for an Alpha Strike.
Okay. I can buy that.
None of this is going to be tier 1 stuff. I'll make that clear right now, but I definitely think that there are some better than average gimmicks that can be run using this. I think it is a good card, not a really good card.
I'm frustrated by the point cost on this. It's
5 points is big, but for a free attack, I've taken additional phaser array at that points. Even just like for a full ship, I can take it. So I think I'm willing to take it for Dispersal Pattern Sierra, even if I am already stacking a photon torpedo behind it.
That's the thing. Additional phasers is fine because
it uses primaries.
It's using something you already have, and you're naturally stacking. This is forcing you to buy another upgrade in addition. And
yeah, it would be really cool if this was a weapon and could be discounted with Sakana, but since it can't, that does make it that little bit extra just cringe when looking at the cost.
Like, I'd start to consider it a lot more if it was 3. And it's not even broken at 3.
I hear what you're saying. I like it where it's at, but you're right that at 3 it would be a much easier sell. I could say, yes, this is pretty good. You should probably consider photon torpedoes when you're looking to have a fun competitive time. Not necessarily super competitive, but fun competitive.
Because then you're looking at 8 points for the package.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're looking at 10 for the package. Rear arcs
are just extremely underutilized.
Oh, well.
That's just the thing is that it is expensive.
Well, you're saying rear arcs are extremely underutilized, but
wait. Coming up next in the pack, we have a real weapons upgrade that is probably usable on the Enterprise-D, aft phaser emitters. Range 1 to 3, variable cost weapon upgrade. Attack, you may fire this weapon from your rear firing arc. The attack value is equal to this ship's primary weapons value -1. May only be purchased for a Federation ship of hull value 4 or greater, and the SP cost is equal to the ship's primary weapon value. It's essentially dorsal phaser array for only the rear arc, at range 1 to 3, at no bonus cost, whereas dorsal's 1 over your primary weapons.
Yeah.
I don't think the 1 to 3 is worth it, especially because it does knock down the primary weapons value damage by 1, which is really painful.
Very painful. Very, very painful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Dorsals gets away with it because it's strict primary weapons value, and you don't really need range 3 in any direction all the time. That's kind of a niche scenario, but phaser emitters stacks on a few too many negatives to make me consider it super good.
I don't like this card.
I don't either. I can't see when I would run it over dorsals, is my thing.
So Nick and I recorded our the start of our Wave 29 review, which will come out in like a month.
Yeah.
But I said in that, I want an aft weapon that lets you fire out of your rear arc for 1 point. Like,
There's a ton of those.
No.
Oh, you mean consistently?
Consistently. It just lets you use your rear arc.
I don't know about... I'm not sold on that one, Dave. That's a big boost to your arc capabilities
or
for
maybe
1 point?
Or primary weapon -1 or something. Some kind of... Not attack dice -1, cost -1. Some kind of...
I think this would have been reasonable if it didn't reduce the primary weapon's value. Since it does that, I think it's untenable, but at just a 1-to-1, this is cost your primary weapon's value and deals your primary weapon's value range 1 to 3 in your rear. Probably I would take it. Because there are some ships that could use that effectively. The Enterprise-E, if you're not building torpedoes, works with that. There's the Venture again. I don't think that you need necessarily the side shots. Any of the 180-degree arc ships, like the Excelsior classes, those have a rear arc that is pretty handy, and you don't really want to pay the points for a full-on dorsal array because you've already got the 180 for your sides, but having that rear arc is still kind of handy.
Yeah. The other problem is, because it's variable, it can't be discounted.
Yep, can't stick it under quark, no discounts, no real way to affect the price as anything other than what it would naturally be.
So,
which is painful.
Very painful. And I hate that rule because I've never quite understood why you can't establish a cost, know what that cost is, and then discount it.
Because whiz kids, but c'est la vie.
Yeah. But is what it is.
Yeah. Next up.
Captain Picard.
Yeah, Jean-Luc Picard.
Skill 8 with the talent, 5 points. Your ship costs -2 SP. And each upgrade assigned to your ship costs -1 SP. Max of 5 SP total. Yes, the ship cost is included in that -5. So at best, Picard is essentially free. No, it's not worth it. No, it's not worth it. Picard 8, Ahab Picard is better. Picard 9 is better.
5 points. Would you take a skill 8 captain for free?
No.
If you weren't already used... No?
No.
You wouldn't? Really?
Not when his name is Picard.
Okay, assuming you weren't already using Picard, it happens. Trust me, I've faced fleets like that. Would you take a skill 8 captain that costs 0 points for a fed ship?
That necessitates that I run 3 upgrades?
One of them could be Tasha Yar, one of them could be Sakana.
It necessitates that I run 3 upgrades.
Yes.
In order to make it free. So it's not really free.
Oh, that's true. I don't know if that counts as not really free. I think that counts as conditionally free, which is still really free once you meet that condition.
I think you're double talking.
And it's not a hard condition for fed ships. They like stacking.
You're asking me to evaluate something in a vacuum that doesn't exist in a vacuum. The fact of the matter is that this captain is named Jean-Luc Picard, and there are 2, maybe 3 Picards that are better than him.
Okay, I'll grant that there are better Picards. I still think that there's a spot for him. Something that I know people have brought up is that you can actually use him as one of your captains to get an instant free skill 9 captain on whatever you're using the fleet commander resource on.
Oh, such a waste of points.
Skill 9 is not bad, especially if you've got a really low captain that wants a skill boost and you're really tight on points. Maybe you're using the boosted durability for something very specific. It's just nice to have the option.
I suppose. He's not utter trash.
I defended Edward Jellicoe too, so take everything I say with a grain of salt.
Yes, he's not utter trash, but he's not any better than tier 3.
Okay, but that's where I'd put him too.
I said
I'd definitely put him around tier 3.
he's not any better than. That means he could be significantly worse.
And my point is, I don't think he is.
On his best day, he's tier 3.
And every upgrade I look at their best day and try and give them the benefit of the doubt.
The day is
because
not his.
Why would you build with a card unless you were putting it out there on its best day?
I don't know.
And I don't care about a card if you're never going to build with it. I want to see what is my use case for this card. And I think that if I'm using Picard, then I'm glad he's available.
Because Picard 9 and Ahab Picard are both tier 1 or 1A, 2?
No, just tier 1. Just say 1.
Well, I don't know. Some people call Picard 8 tier 2, and I scowl at them.
Yeah, but some people are wrong, so, life goes on.
So how can a card with the same name that's 2 tiers lower be viable? Answer me that.
Because there are some times when you're not already using the other two, at which point he becomes an option and may suit a certain build for a certain purpose where you need high captain skill but have really low points going on.
I suppose.
Like, it's great for swarm ships where you're building with Sakana because you're already getting like at least 2 upgrades that you're getting a discount from.
I suppose. Actually, okay, fine. That Sakona, if you have a weapon that's 6 points, Picard can come in, make the weapon 5, and then Sakona can knock it down to 3.
It works even better.
Barely.
You have little faith.
Thought, one of the Dominion Thought captains does the same thing, so.
Yeah, but this guy also gives you discounts for, like, the rest of your stuff. Thought Pran, I think you're talking about.
Not the rest of your stuff. 3 things.
Okay, but enough of your stuff. Mr. Debbie Downer over here. Like, look at the Defiant. Slap on Sakana, Type 8, upgraded phasers, an additional phaser array. That's 3 upgrades that actually get the discount. Put on Jean-Luc Picard. He's basically free. Let's count him up. That's 24 points for the base ship, 3 for Sakana, 1 for upgraded. It's 28. 31 points with additional phaser array for a skill 8 shot. That's not bad. Skill 8 shot for 2 shots, one of which probably takes off 2 fighter tokens. I'm into it. Skill 8's above fighters. That's a big deal.
You're assuming I'm running fighters.
Yeah, but you don't bring it unless you're in a fighter-heavy meta, or that specific layout. I'm saying he's a tool in your arsenal. Now that's a thing. You've got a 31-point ship that eviscerates fighters and still helps the rest of your board state.
Sure. All right, there's 1 card left. You get the dubious honor.
And quite the quirky card at that. We're looking at Transporter, a non-unique 3-point Fed tech. For an action, you can disable this upgrade to target a friendly ship at range 1 to 2, disable all shields on both ships, and then switch a crew upgrade between the 2 ships. And no ship can have more than 1 transporter upgrade, but switch crew upgrades.
Yeah, I like how they just
Wow.
made up a term that has never been used anywhere else in this game and has no definition.
What are they trying to say here exactly?
So, here's my definition of switch. Each ship must have a crew. They exchange places. So, crewman on ship A goes to ship B, and crewman on ship B must go to ship A.
That's out of the spirit for Transporter, but definitely a valid interpretation.
So you can't just move a crewman from ship A to ship B.
Mm-hmm.
Or from ship B to ship A. You have to...
It does say a crew upgrade, but it could... Oh, you're right. It could be a crew upgrade from each ship. You're right. Yeah. No, that's...
Between.
Huh. Yeah.
So from one to the other, and from the other back to one.
That's funky.
Like, that's the definition of switch.
It's a cool idea, especially because it's a disable, meaning you could re-enable it and have it ready for later on down in the game to switch back.
Uh-huh.
But what? That's something special. I like it. It allows you to move crew around. You do need to actually have slots to... Maybe you don't need to have slots.
You don't need to have slots.
because you could just swap them with wherever they are currently, but you can move your crew around, put things where they need to be, avoid faction penalties. Really nice in pure games where you can set things up, take that on an actual science vessel, and then move it aboard another ship.
Yeah.
Throw over Quark, who is bringing a tech like Romulan cloaked mines that you didn't want to spend the money on anyway.
Quark on a Klingon ship with projected stasis field can now go anywhere.
Dave, you're mean. You're a mean-spirited human being, and you'll never ever be any good.
I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, it's a good card just because of the weird utility plays it can get up to and the just vast number of plays it enables that you couldn't otherwise get up to. But it's going to be one of those ones you really have to sit down and think about for a bit.
Okay, here's my good reaction. I want to use Maltz with this. Maltz is the guy that can take crew from
action,
a ship
discard him
to
move 3 crew from your ship to another ship or from that ship to your ship.
Yeah, so he can move crew around, and then you can transport them all over the place.
He is a hard sell.
No, he's 5.
Is he?
Yeah.
Huh. He's still a hard sell.
But I'm saying that we can move crew wherever we want now.
You do have just a complete... Do you have a slot? Well, now you can have whatever crew you like.
Slots only matter at the start.
Need it. Yeah.
Maltz doesn't need slots.
Anywhere there are crew.
Transporter doesn't need slots.
He's 5 points. I don't know what I was thinking about.
There's a different Klingon crew in that pack that was 6.
Okay.
Slots, nobody needs slots. We just needed the slots at the beginning of the game.
Once you got the crew aboard, now you're good to go. Use that alongside Klingon cryogenic stasis.
Exactly.
That way you can get crew where you don't have slots. You can get them on the Dauntless. You can stack Borg with some crew. You can Maltz some crew over. You're just having a big crew party on Species 8472
That's
ships.
where I was going. Now, we have to get a crew onto a bioship to start. But then we can start transporting them over.
But once you start, it doesn't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, no, that's a funny idea.
I don't think there's any competitive viableness there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a word?
And I think Transporter on its own has some compatible viableness.
Yes, but the whole
with
idea...
Maltz, it's just a fun idea.
Yes, the whole idea of Maltz and Transporter is just silly shenanigans all at once. It's just the madness of beaming crew. You want to add more madness to it? Throw a shuttle in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Throw 2 in the mix.
Have all the shuttles.
Yes. You get a shuttle, you get a shuttle.
Yeah, everybody gets a shuttle.
No. Bob in the corner, he doesn't get a shuttle.
He didn't deserve it.
You want to know why? Talk to Bob.
Talk to Bob. He knows what he did.
He knows. He knows why he doesn't get a shuttle.
But everybody else, they're having fun with the new transporter, playing around with the wonky combos, enjoying their pseudo-shuttles everywhere.
Yes. So I think there's something fun here. There's something good. I'll be running something fun with it. Probably not in an OP anytime soon, but someday.
I definitely can see places I would want to use this.
Yes. Actually, senior staff.
I'm just thinking just put it on the Romulan science vessel to begin with. They don't need the tech slot.
No. Cloaked Mines, maybe.
Cloaked Mines is fine, but again, you're probably bringing on Quark anyways, and you can bring something special. Take, Captain Khan Singh in Diplomacy again.
Ugh.
Now your highest captain skill, moving, seeing what the board's like before dropping your projected, and you're getting a free turn of attack cancellation out of Diplomacy. It's just nasty, not to mention the attack cancellation of Varel you shifted over.
Sure.
Dave, this is mean-spirited. I like it.
I'm dubious when I want to be. I'm telling you guys.
He's mean. I don't care what he looks like on the outside. He's a cold-hearted man.
I'm a giant teddy bear.
Love you, Dave. Next up is Senior Staff, the question mark resource for the pack.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, would you?
Yes. Each ship in your fleet may field one additional elite talent upgrade for every crew upgrade assigned to it. Each talent upgrade is placed next to the crew upgrade that fielded it. If the crew upgrade is ever discarded, you must also discard the talent upgrade that was fielded by that crew upgrade. The cost for this resource is 1 SP for each additional talent upgrade you assign to your fleet.
Yeah, I think that's usable.
I think it's usable.
I really like the fact that it costs whatever its use is. However many times you use this ability, that's what you pay. Just 1 point each time.
Yeah.
I've taken 1 point admirals before to bring along a talent slot. I can see taking this as my resource if I want to try talent stacking, which is something that's been pretty difficult to do in the past.
I like the notion that we can have a 1 point resource. This is now there's no reason to underbuild unless you absolutely want to.
No, because you still have to pay for the talent.
Minor details.
Oh, I see what you mean. You can actually take this in order to bring along talents and crew instead of on empty slots in order to take up those points. So you can kind of eat up whatever's left over without giving that to your opponent guaranteed.
Right. You can finagle your build.
Yes, if you don't already have a resource, that actually fits nicely. My idea behind it is that it can go on crewmen. It can bring talents on low skill captains where you wouldn't otherwise be able to bring them. Like, I really enjoy Captain Tar from the Ferengi faction.
That's the battle station one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're in the forward firing of an opposing ship at combat, you get a battle station.
Yeah, I like that one.
Which is super handy.
Always forget to get the battle station, but I like Car.
Uh-huh. It's
Tar.
This is a super funny upgrade for bringing along conditional surrender, since the crewman brings its own death warrant. You can functionally double the usefulness of, what's his name, Elam Garrick from the Dominion faction by allowing him to bring 2 talents onto your ship, wherever you're bringing him. And one of which doesn't need him to be enabled to be used.
Yeah, or one of the Rikers.
Riker's always a great candidate just because he goes everywhere.
But then you're using that Riker instead of one of the good Rikers. So
which is probably not the best idea. Friends, don't let friends use that Riker.
No, that's... this has a lot of potential. I like this resource.
There's a ton of places this just slots in and is handy. Like, you can put this on... You can use this to give Quark a talent slot before you discard him. To bring on something like a Picard maneuver before you reveal his warp jump out of there.
Right. You have to pick your moments, pick your talents that you're going to use quickly and not want to keep around.
If you're putting them on discard crew, you do have to have talents that can be used before those crew use themselves. But you can also just slap them on crew that are going to be hanging around, like Sakana or Bohica, that just sit there the entire game and give you bonuses, or you just purchase once. Core really likes this if you want to start stacking talents around, though chances are you'll probably just add on Admiral Gowron and use that slot. But if you're taking him on a non-Klingon vessel, you can give Worf another talent slot. There's a bunch of places where you can just add talent slots, and the value of this card is going to be based on where you squeeze those in and what talents you're bringing that actually affect the game. So I don't think it can be judged by itself as anything more than a 1 point resource that gives you slot conversions.
Well, and not even conversions, additions.
Yeah, but you also need to be paying at least 1 crew upgrade into that equation in order to get it, which is why it's sort of a conversion, at least the way I think about it.
Yeah. For me, I'm typically bringing crew anyways.
Yeah, no, it's a valid response.
So, there's a lot of
definitely
builds.
Handy.
Yeah.
And again, it costs what you pay, what you're using it for. If you're only using 1 upgrade, you only pay 1 for it. So you don't need to worry that you're not getting your money's worth, because you're always getting exactly what you pay into it. It's basically a faction penalty to bring talents on ships.
Or a double faction penalty.
Well, yes, you can stack with your normal faction penalty. I'm just saying that's the kind of price change you're looking to bring these extra talent slots.
Which isn't hideous. It's not amazing.
It's not bad.
But it's not hideous.
You're not writing home about it, but it's usable. So I like it. Overall, really powerful pack.
Yeah, I like it.
Natasha Yar's something else. I like Transporter. Picard's somewhere in the middle, but the Dispersal Pattern Sierra is really handy for making photon torpedoes that much more useful as a utility option rather than an alternative to primary weapons.
Yeah, and aft phaser emitters could have been good. It's a nice idea.
It really is. It's just dorsal phaser array does it better currently, and that's hard to argue with.
Yep. But, hey, it is still a worthwhile prize pack. And it's perfectly fine when the named ship is probably the worst card in the pack, and it's the same name as a ship we already have in the game, so you're not losing anything.
Exactly. It's just another version, and probably a more playable version. The Enterprise-D's named ability is kind of mediocre in comparison to Voyager, so You'll probably see some more decent play out of this version, especially since it's got a tech slot.
I don't know. 3 dice, 360, range 1 to 2, but no aux, versus 4 dice, but take an aux.
If that's what kind of arc I'm looking for, I'll take a Scout Cube. I don't need the Enterprise-D for that.
No, I understand. It depends on what kind of upgrade you want to, but
yeah,
maneuvers...
a lot depends. I just think that the Venture usually wins out, and this actually gives me a reason to take the D instead of the Venture. You've
convinced me on the Venture, much like you convinced me on the Dravana instead of the Mata. So before we finally wrap this up, we do have a correction from last month. Reverse Course is better than we thought, because
better than anything we said. We were naysayers because we didn't see the light.
We thought there was a discard involved.
We just assumed it was a 5-point version of full reverse. The fact that it was a 5-point version of a card that already existed probably should have tipped us off, but even the best of us miss things sometimes.
Yeah, there's no discard. It's a passive ability.
It's a may. You just every turn you can say, you know what, that wasn't a particularly good remover. Let's pull a white full of a stern.
So Reverse Course actually reads, during the activation phase, you may disregard your chosen maneuver and execute a full astern maneuver with a speed of 1 or 2 instead. For 5 points, that is a pretty good card.
Yep, that's a fantastic card. Put it on something that doesn't have a full astern. Now you've given it an extra maneuver that it can change to after it's revealed its original maneuver. You're giving it that ability to pull that shuffle. It's white every single turn, so you're not losing any action economy. The Excelsior is in love with this thing just because it keeps it at range 2 or 3 from your opponent.
Yeah.
Put on the Dispersal Pattern Sierra. Now you can actually use the photon torpedoes on all those enemies in your forward arc, and now you've got 2 talent slots, which means you probably want to take senior staff. It's all coming together, Dave.
We needed a little extra to get back here, but yeah.
It's all coming together.
It was worth us having a big oops to come back.
We definitely needed to point that out, because just being able to disregard your maneuver and say, no, I feel like pulling a reverse action right now is such a crazy boost to your maneuverability just to have that every single turn rather than the just one-off of full reverse, that it really is a massively handy upgrade, and I think a lot of people should want it, so we want to make sure that we let you know about it here.
Yes, so thank you to Todd for pointing that out.
Keeping us honest.
Yeah.
That's what all of you should be doing. Let us know if we make a mistake. We're happy to go back and fix things if there's a big issue, like full reverse being, or whatever.
Reverse course.
Reverse course being not a discard, because I'm happy to pay 6 points and put that on anything to have that maneuverability. That's a really good upgrade. And having that perspective on it is really handy.
I still like it on Shinzon, though. You may not
It's
like
still
Shinzon.
fantastic.
Yeah, you may hate Shinzon. That's fine. We can agree on that. But I still like it on Shinzon.
But Shinzon with this, now you're getting funky with it, and I like it. Again.
All right.
So, giving that a shout out.
Yes. All right. That is going to end it for us. But we'll be back next month with...
I don't know what the next OP is, do you?
It's with In a Mirror Darkly.
Yes, that's right. Now I remember. The Mirror Universe is coming.
Yes. The ISS Defiant Constitution class. It's Mirror and Fed. Dual faction. Oh, you haven't seen that.
Such a good ship. Really looking forward to more people getting their hands on it.
Yes. All right. Until next month.
Have a great day, everybody.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.
What? It's cross-faction? Oh, that's crazy! I want it so badly. That is so... Oh my god, I'm flipping my head just because Mirror has a ton of fantastic upgrades. And being able to bring Fed upgrades alongside that at no penalty? Jesus. Right? Like, why would you not? That's like building for the Klingon Civil War and not using Admiral Gowron. It's there. It's waiting for you. Build me, please.